Hey, 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 ladies and lovers.
Hello,
Welcome
everybody.
back to the Love Blog.
Welcome.
Hey,
We're excited to have everybody back. We've got a very sensual episode for you guys, or gals, listening today. As always, my name is Trent.
My name is Spence.
I'm Jacob.
No, I don't think you are.
Nice gag.
I thought it was pretty
That's
good.
our Mr. Funny Man, Vladimir Nakamura, love blog specialist himself.
Yep,
He runs his own blog,
I got one.
and he is a relationship advice expert. World renowned
Studied
for his
years.
several blog posts and YouTube specials.
Absolutely. And speaking of specials, today on the Love Blog, we've got a special feature that we're going to have Vladimir help to guide us through. This special feature is called Youth's a Blessing, the Frigid Truth of Love. We're going to take a deep dive into what makes love what it is, the way that it twists our minds, our feelings, and our bodies into one beautiful mixture, and the way that we can decompose this mixture and send it out into the world and have it returned back to us.
Very eloquently worded, Spence. That was amazing, and I'm sure Vladimir has much to know about this topic. So we'd like to pass it over. Just give us a little introduction, what you've been up to, and general know-how. What's up?
So I'm Vlad. I've been going around the world, learning about love, talking to lovers, finding love in nature, in the wild, in nature, finding love by myself, out in the woods. There's a lot to learn from the world when it comes to love, and love. It's not just about people; it's about things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Now, Vlad, we've all seen the recent thread of posts that you've been going on your very own blog. Now, you've been sort of getting into this weird, demented mix of humans and animals lately. I've seen these horrific cartoons that you've been posting, submitted by some of your viewers. Can you tell us a little bit about how you think that this really relates to the modern love stage in today's society?
Well, to truly love another, you have to find the love within yourself. And to do that, you have to go back evolutionarily, right? You have to find the love in your DNA.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like I always
So
say,
like you can,
roots.
if you look close enough, you can find love in a microscope. You can look in there and see a little love floating around, right? That's what I'm saying.
But I will agree with you there, but the posts on the blog have not been very, let's say, scientific. They
Well,
aren't
sometimes-
microscopic. They aren't primitive. They're very vulgar and they've been quite shocking to us people in the love sphere. You know, this is another reason why we brought you on, is to give yourself a platform to address,
Well,
all of
Vlad,
this
I know
nonsense.
you're a great guy, and I really respect a lot you have to say. All I can really say is that after looking at some of these posts, I wouldn't exactly, leave you to watch my dog over the weekend. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that anymore.
I mean, sometimes love isn't pretty, you know? Anyone can tell you that.
Well, I find that as an insult. Have you been on the show, or have you heard the show before? Because that's our motto, is love is pretty. That's like the motto of our show.
Have you thought about changing that one?
Well, no, that we just had a t-shirt line, a very successful t-shirt sale with that on it.
Plastered
They're doing all
across
kinds of
Walmart.
recalls with all sorts of things now. You can make that work.
Well,
I would know if you'd have been to Walmart, because you would have seen someone wearing it. It's a Walmart exclusive.
Yeah, we had a very, very large shot in the dark. We sent them an email. Hey guys, love is pretty. We're just trying to share the message. They said, we think this is amazing, guys. They said, Spence, Trent, we love you. This is a fantastic work. And they put it on the shelves within a week. The migrant workers in Taiwan really, really worked their asses off for our magnum opus.
Right. We thank them so much for their sacrifices. There were a couple
I
of
think we
chemical.
can agree to disagree.
There were a couple of chemical incidents at the production factory during this production.
Right.
Many children left fatherless and motherless, but in the end, I think it really created a good product.
Very, very
people
good.
out there.
And thank you again for all the fans for supporting us, for going out to the Walmart and showing up without a mask even just to get our shirts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate it.
So, Vlad, let's go back to the basics for a minute. Now, a lot of people on this podcast, as you may know, who are our listeners, are absolute losers. They've never talked to anyone that they're interested in. They're completely afraid of anything like that, of any commitment, of any putting themselves out there at risk.
Total virgins.
Complete virgins. Just really not all around unpleasant people. And one of our goals is to get them to be more comprehensive in their love knowledge, to go out there, get that man, get that woman of their dreams. Let's say, put yourself in a basic scenario. You're over at Friendly's. It's special Irish Joe night, so all the beers are free. You see a lovely, lusty, busty lady, 2 or 3 seats down. It's game time. How do you proceed?
What you got to do, and love's all about psychology, right? It's all in your head. It's not real, right? You gotta make it. It's not a thing that happens. It's a thing you do.
Psychology is not real. That's correct.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you gotta get in her head. So like, what you gotta do, you gotta whisper as you walk by. You gotta get her voice rattling through her brain. You gotta, maybe get your head up on the TV if you can. Maybe get the waiters saying your name.
Like a Chromecast?
Get her friends. Yeah, exactly.
Put yourself up on the Chromecast.
You gotta warm her up. So like, maybe what I'm saying is, if you're not around her, she won't like you. You have to find a way to surround her at all times, right? You have to become her new reality.
That makes a lot of sense in theory. I have some issues saying how these sort of abstract concepts could really be implemented inside of a Friendly's.
Yeah, it seems like you're talking about something that may be more suited for a scientist's basement with a bunch of gizmos and gadgets, but that's not where all of the women are.
Feels like I'm hearing Edgar Allan Poe talk about the meaning of his lyrics, or a physicist talk about the string theories of the universe. It's not really something I can hold in my hand.
Sometimes love isn't as black and white as you're making it out to be. Or ones and zeros in your case, talking about circuitry and boards, wiring up yourself to be a Chromecast on the wall just so you can get some pussy. And you say surround yourself around this girl, this poor innocent woman who has done nothing, probably wanted to get a burger special at 7 p.m.
Yes.
All right, well, if that's the way to proceed, who am I to argue with such an expert?
Very well, very well.
Very well.
Very well. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening up our eyes, Vlad. Thank you so much for that introduction. We really appreciate you coming on this podcast and speaking your mind to the world of love bloggers central.
I think by now, if anyone had any doubt that we had someone truly special on here today, that has been completely eradicated. Vlad here is like a full carton of eggs in the kitchen. He's so versatile, you can scramble him, you can sunny him side up, you can bake him into a cake, and taste the sweetness of his blessings.
And people have done that before.
they have indeed used eggs to perform all of these tasks.
All right, it's time for the post-opener segment, Love Swap, where we like to present a hypothetical for you, Vlad. A hypothetical. We swap around two different species, and you tell me what the output would look like in your mind. So
I'm ready.
I'll bring one to the table. Me and Spence have not pre-recorded these. So I'll go first. Human.
Human?
Okay, Spence, give your species.
Let's see. Human and ostrich.
So what I'm thinking is, with the human and the ostrich, you get the best of both worlds, right? Because these are two creatures that have perfectly adapted to their surroundings, right? So human ostrich, you get them together. You got those long, spindly legs, right? You got the beak. But what I'm thinking, and this might be controversial, and this is controversial in some circles. The combination of lips and beak, the texture and the structure of both together is the perfect receptacle on a biological creature, I think. Just imagine.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So what do you think happens if you mixed a milkshake and a smoothie? What do you get?
I think some things were not meant to be. I think some things nature rejects. Nature throws it out in the garbage and says, I'm not handling that today. And I think that's one of the things that nature would scowl at in disgust. It would absolutely reject, like, the molecules are not meant to withstand this kind of combination. So I'm sorry, I can't give you an answer there.
What if you mixed a public bathroom and an Evian bottled water?
Now you're speaking my language. I think, like, say dirty gray water in those toilets, that's not doing anyone any favors. Like, that's whenever you flush, the little particles are flying out, right? Get some Evian in there, it's exfoliating. You're getting a nice steam bath every time you're in there, right?
Right.
And this is it's a public bathroom,
Yes.
so this is a public good. You see the results in the community. You see fresher faces. You see friendlier people. The results they build up, you know?
What
Of
if you
course.
mixed Star Wars and motorcycles?
So that's something I've been thinking about recently. And I'm not talking about the Tron style, like no light bikes. I'm talking about you put a motorcycle, you got it in space, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you see these fights going on in space, you see in the movies, you don't see any people out there. You see big metal ships shooting at each other. And that's not personal. Right? That's just not you can't relate to these ships. They're big hunks of metal. Motorcycles in space, you can see the guy. You can see the dude. You give him a gun, you have him shoot another guy in space, right? You got the space going on, which is huge. People love that. You got the motors, like you look at Ghost Rider. My uncle did stunts for Ghost Rider, and he said he was talking about this too. He was like, "I wish this was in space, because in Earth I'm limited. I can't do what I want to do." So you put it in space. Gravity's no longer a concern. You can do stunts in every direction. It's not just 360 degrees. That's however many degrees are in a sphere. That's every degree. You have all of them, right?
Of course.
So that's all I have to say about
course.
that.
Fascinating.
Very, very fascinating. Thank you for participating in the segment. Normally people are very reluctant towards it. We've had some bad eggs in the bunch in the
Yeah.
past.
So now we're going to take it back from love a little bit. You know, we can't be love 24/7, 366. That's for leap years. We sometimes dial it back have a little fun, joke around. We'll get back to the love later, you little losers. We'll get back to the love. You can get your info. Right now, we're just going to kick it back, chill with Vlad. We're going to be reading off some news stories. We're going to tell a little bit about the story, see what Vlad has to say. So, first off, we have Michael Brownling, the director of the National Treasure movies, has actually just come out and admitted, finally, that the movies were actually real and everything really happened and there were no special effects in the movies. And this has really shocked everyone. They've been bringing their kids to these museums. They've been bringing their dogs, bringing their grandma right into the museum. And the entire time they had no idea that all this stuff afterwards, the statues were coming to life. So a lot of people have been really calling this just morally devoid. They really think that President Obama, when he established the museums, really should have just told the public, put it on a little plaque, maybe a little Post-it note at the doorstep. What's your opinion on this, Vlad?
Well, I don't think it's just morally bankrupt. I think it's creatively bankrupt. Like, you go into this movie expecting, like, okay, this is somebody's vision. Somebody, like, birthed this with their brain and, like, produced this project out of love. But when you hear it's just real, like, that's just real. That's not somebody's brain project. That's just real life. And I feel like young creatives who were inspired by this movie, who are like, hey, I love that movie. Like, I want to make a movie about stealing documents. Like, I enjoyed that. They see it's real and they're like, okay, that was all a farce. Like, somebody exploited somebody's real adventures and put it off as their own creation. And you see this a lot in media, in the creative industry, right? Where you think, oh, this is a nice fantasy book. Like, nope, that's real. That actually happened. And it's like, okay, well, there goes my suspension of belief, right? I was suspending my belief to pretend that this didn't exist, but now it does. So it's like,
Right.
everything I was building up to, it just gets on my nerves. I hate it when they do that.
That's about how I felt when I figured out that there were actually animals in real life for all the animals in Zootopia. Do you know about that?
I haven't heard about
turns
that.
out all of them they're real animals. Also, they didn't make any of them up.
All of them, or just like most of them?
Pretty sure it's all of them. I mean, I'm not an expert on this topic. I'm not a movie buff, but
That's when I figured out in the Emoji Movie that the emojis are real because they're on my iPhone.
Oh yeah, I knew that one.
But they came to life. They came to life.
So I didn't know that.
All right, so I have a news story. I have a news story to bring to the table. As you know, Vlad, this one's gonna be familiar to you, but it just came out. I think it was 2 days ago. The hyper expansive wave, this ever expansive, massive wave that has been spiraling and hurricaning itself, just straight lampooning it to the earth, is in its third trimester, and we're actually 6 months away from its arrival. Scientists have no clue what this thing is, if it has any poor intentions or what it really is, but everyone can see it outside. So what do you think about this third trimester landmark that it's just made as it's hurling itself towards us?
So listen, I'm a love guy and I'm not a wave guy, but I've talked to wave guys. It's a pretty interconnected community, and what they're saying is that this thing, it's not the first time we've had something like this. Like, we've seen big old waves before, and they've come and they've gone. Like, they did what they had to do and they left, right? So my friends are saying, and I'm inclined to agree with them, is that it's no different from this wave. Like, it's coming to do its thing. It's going to do its thing. It's not going to interfere where it doesn't have to, and it's going to move on. And I think that's okay. Like, who are we to try to stop it? That's not something we should aspire to do.
Yeah, but you've seen it, right? You've walked outside and you've seen it. Everyone's seen it.
I mean, yeah, of course I've seen it. But who
Yeah,
hasn't?
but doesn't that scare you? It keeps getting bigger day by the day.
They say that
Listen,
of course it's happened before, but this one has quite a larger materialization index than some of the other instances.
I think we shouldn't judge things by the size of the wave. We should judge things by the heart of the wave. And we get people out there talking to it. We figure out what its desires are, what it hopes to achieve, what its dreams are. Maybe we can resolve this in a way that everyone
This is
comes
some
out feeling
fucking
good.
post-wave
right?
theory hipster bullshit that you're spewing at us right now.
No, I've talked to the wave guys.
That's
You talk-
exactly
This
why.
You
is
talk to
this is a
you
general
talk to the
consensus of
wave guys
community.
over at Harvard University, or you talk to the wave guys in the Facebook comment section. You know what I'm saying?
I've talked to a good mixture, very diverse views that have been expressed to me.
Because there's a lot of crackpots in the wave communities. I mean, when you say the wave community, you could really be talking about anything.
Not the Reddit waivers, right? Okay.
Nah, not them.
So we got those guys. If you, I think what you're saying is ridiculous. I think those guys, they should be riding the wave. You know.
Amen to that.
Yeah, give them up to the wave, not me. So we got another story coming out. So it turns out this is a big announcement, actually, made the front page of the New York Times. So Fred Webster, you may recognize him. He's the brother of the guy who made the dictionary. So Fred Webster and his team at Emory University have just recently come out with a cure for having really big ears. Now, we've all known this is relevant to love interests. Sometimes you see a beautiful lady, you go up, you approach her, but all of a sudden you notice those feelers on her head are just honking big, and it's just not doing it for you. She looks like a sun-dried elf,
Life-size Dumbo.
life-size Dumbo, and it just ruins the mood. It ruins the vibe. You just want to crawl back and hide in somewhere in a dank, dark hole. But now, this can be fixed. The ears can be made much smaller. The only catch is that there's an 18% chance in the procedure that it will cause permanent blindness. Lots of people would say this is worth it. Lots of people would disagree. What do you think about this?
So this has come up a lot in my field of study. Not specifically this issue, but issues related to it. And of course, there's a lot. And generally, what I've generally believed to be the case is that there is one ideal human body, and the more in love you are with somebody, the closer they are to approaching it, right?
Nope.
So
Emma Watson. It's her.
yeah.
No.
The Harry Potter. You know the Harry Potter girl?
Yeah.
So say theoretically it is Emma Watson, and there may be some evidence to this claim. I haven't researched specific
Kind of is.
that aspect, but say theoretically it is Emma Watson. Like this ear procedure, say it's successful in what do you say? Something like 80% of people it doesn't cause
18%
blindness.
does.
82%. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's about right.
82. Okay, so you have 82% who are closer to the platonic ideal of a human being. Maximum love expressed in this one person, right? That's the most love you can have. It might not necessarily be Emma Watson. It could be. I don't know.
No, it's not.
This is all theoretical.
It's not.
But say it is.
It's not.
Okay, regardless.
Yeah,
Just for the sake of
There's a
argument.
doodle poll
Yeah.
about this. We already know the
Emma-
answer, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you may have those 82% who are closer to this ideal, but the ones that are blind, like that might be farther than the ears are closer. You know what I'm saying? So like humanity as a whole has a net negative in terms of love gained. Like love has exited the earth and gone off into space to be somewhere else. Like that's not what we want. So like we have to measure, okay, this procedure, this emification, if you will, like, is it truly are we playing God here, or are we playing God
if
in
you
the
think
right
about
way?
it,
You know?
when you go blind anymore, you can't even see how big people's ears are. The only thing you can see now is when you can see through when your dog barks this at the cars on the road.
And
You're seeing dog barks at them.
people are kind of using it as a paid enhancement, because if you're blind, it enhances your other senses. And if you also, reduce your ears, to make them normal sized, normal function, and you black out another sense, literally, then,
Well, there's a precedent for this. Like we've seen steroids in
yeah.
sports, performance enhancing drugs. Like we say no. Like we've decided as a society, as a collective, like when we run these sports leagues, we say no, you can't use those for the sake of
We don't want to
keeping the game
allow
authentic.
enhancers in our society. So what you're saying?
Yeah, so like if we have these blind people who are producing more love because they're outputting it through their other senses, like that may be good for them, but for society as a whole, they're making everybody else look bad.
Wearing glasses,
and we don't want
see?
that.
You against taking breath mints so your breath smells better?
Well, like there's a fine line. Like obviously, training, say in sports, if this analogy is going to continue, like that's not the same thing as using steroids. Like there's I don't know the exact line. Like that's not my place to say.
Why not?
But we can say like, okay. I mean, I'm just a researcher, right? I don't.
I
rules.
think you're not giving yourself enough credit here.
I feel like.
I mean, you have had sex with over 2,000 women, right?
Yes.
Well, there you have it. I'm still seeing. I'm not quite getting the full impact of your argument. I feel like there are a lot of sort of counterexamples to what you're saying. So is it cheating if I wear shoes that make me taller in my school pictures?
I think if you make your feet longer, that is cheating. But shoes, they're an ephemeral thing, right? You have shoes for one day, and then they're gone,
shoes
and you have no
aren't
shoes
real?
anymore, right? Not
Because I've
necessarily.
seen them on my feet before, so I know they're real.
Well, that's getting into a whole nother can of worms.
So what if I use
tattoos
to make my nipples look smaller?
I think that would be acceptable.
Okay, good.
In most cases.
I was getting a little worried there. I was going to have to call Dr. Schmash, cancel the appointment.
I was getting saucy. That was getting real nice. Thank you again for coming on, Vlad. You really keep it sexy in the room, wherever you are. I'm sure all of our listeners, all the female listeners. Hello, female listeners. Listening for love advice.
Female listeners,
hello.
My email's always open. My email address.
My email, it's on the screen.
Yep.
And
mine's on the
Spence.
Mine's on the screen,
it's
but it's bigger. It's bigger. It's the bigger one.
Hey, I said last time we get the same space. Next time.
You put yours on the screen first, so mine gets to be bigger.
Well, how did you know I put it on the screen first?
Because you said it first. It doesn't come. Craig's not going to put it up there until we say it, because he doesn't know what to do. He just does what we tell him to.
Craig can listen. Craig listens to it. Craig can hear what I'm saying now and then put ours up at the same time in the same spot for the same size.
Yeah, but we already talked about the different sizes, so he has to do that now. But he can put them now on the same size.
Okay, put them now.
Put them now at the same size. Okay.
Vlad, do you want to put Vlad, what do you want to put on the screen? I can put your phone number on the screen. Here's Vlad's phone number. Here's on his screen.
Oh, wait, it's too late.
Don't
Sorry
put that
about that.
Oh,
we'll make it really small.
That one off?
No, Craig. Craig does what he hears, so it's kind of like our editor.
Yeah, he can't go back. He's still using the trial version of Sony Vegas, so he's not allowed to unedit things.
We'll put up what else do you want? Email. Here's a.
Can you get my signature up there?
Here's a picture of his dad.
Here's what his mom looks like in high school, and then here's his mom now with with him next to his mom now, and then when his mom was younger, it's a picture of his young mom with him as a baby from Facebook.
All right. Let's take that off the screen. Let's get into
Take that all.
all right, you guys have been hitting us up. We put out the call on Twitter, and now it's time. We're gonna read off some people who have come to the Love Blog for help, and Vlad's gonna give his
Little
advice.
invoices.
You know, like a classic Ellen Show Ask Ann type of deal.
Yep.
They're gonna come in for advice. Vlad's gonna say, "What's up?" All right. So the first one
Okay.
we have is from Anna Johnson and her husband Spindy, no last name.
Spindy, that's right.
And so Anna says, "Hey, Love Blog, and hey, Vlad. I just recently married my husband who I've been dating for 10 and a half years. But there's one big issue which has really been causing a bad thing in our relationship. And it's that my husband Spindy has no last name, and so I can't quite take on his last name. I feel like we're not quite a family unit without this type of official nomenclature change, and it still feels like it's no different than when we were dating. How can I get this connection back through names that I feel like I can't get through any other way?" So this is a question out to Vlad.
I think that's a good question, and that's something I've encountered a few times before. And I think there is no replacing the true commitment that comes with a name change. Like that's something it's been a tradition in so many cultures for so many years. But I think if you want a similar vibe, if you want something that can maybe get close, you have to take other things from him and make them your own. Like if you can take maybe samples of his skin, take little pieces of his hair, put them on yourself. Like he's part of you now. That's something that'll never go away. And I think there's a beauty in that, right?
I could definitely
Love,
see that.
love is beauty. Love is beauty.
Mm-hmm. So we always say
That's beautiful.
it's pretty. All right. You want to read off the next one, Trent?
Yeah, this one is from Marisa from Japan. Marisa writes, "Hey, Love Blog. Hey, Vlad. Big fan of the show from over the seas. I am very hard to find outside when I am walking out in the large streets of Tokyo. I am so small. I am 3 feet tall, yet I am 32 years old. I was diagnosed with very small since I was young, and then I took it. Sorry, I think that might be a translation error. Sorry. Because this is from Google Translate. Please help. The boys can never see me. I am so small, and I poke them with my umbrella, and they kick me over on the street." Wow.
Well, that's another good question. And this relates back to what we were talking about earlier with enhanced senses. When you're small, when you don't take up much physical space in the world, you have to spread yourself out emotionally. So what I'm thinking, and bear with me here, you got to get real loud. You got to get as loud as you like. You got to scream, okay? And this may seem counterintuitive. Like you might think, oh, like lovers prefer a gentle like voice. No, incorrect. You gotta get in their heads. Like you want somebody to hear you from across the town, right? Maybe get a beautiful song go. Get a megaphone. Get a song going, right? Your lungs may be small, but you can make them bigger with the power of song, right? So get up on a rooftop, megaphone. Get
There you
to
go,
work.
Marisa. Hope
that
that
one
is able
helps.
to get translated back. But if anyone knows Japanese, please post the translation in the comments.
Please, we cannot afford a translator. Next, we got another message. This time from Rich Piker of Arlington, Virginia. Let's see what Rich has to say. He says, "Hey, Love Blog. So recently, I just got my first girlfriend, and things are going great. However, some weird stuff has been happening to me, and I'm not really sure if my girlfriend will be okay with it or if this is a result of the relationship. So he says, first I started growing hair all over my entire face and body, and then my skin turned into scales and starts melting away into ashes and blowing away. And he said that all my muscles are slowly stopped moving. It started in my left hand, and it's all the way down to the middle of my chest now. My muscles are slowly becoming petrified and just falling out through these oozing holes in my skin. And I don't want to go to a doctor because doctors are pretty scary. I had some traumatic experience getting fill-ins at the dentist, but I want a way to know what's happening to me, and I don't know what's happening to me, Vlad. So please, what's happening to me? What do I do? What's happening to my body?
I've had young readers come to me a lot with issues like this, and I tell them, love does strange things to you, right? It can transform you in ways you never thought were possible. Sometimes these transformations are good, and sometimes they're not so good. But what's important is that you roll with the punches, and you find a way to use them to your advantage. Like these scales, maybe they can protect your significant other from a bullet, right? Like that's something that might help. Like how
Right.
romantic would that be, right? So like things may be confusing, and young relationships are like this a lot, where it's like, oh, I don't even know myself, so how can I expect to know somebody else? But that's the beauty of it, getting to know each other together. So embrace it. Like let her get to know
Wow,
you, and
that
you can get
sounds
to know
like
yourself at the same
beautiful
time.
stuff.
Who knew? We basically have Dr. Vladimir over here. You don't need to go to the clinic.
It's
Just
true.
ask about anything. Vlad, I'm going to send you some pictures of my rash later if you want to take a look.
So Vlad, we wanted to turn it over to you to share some of your more personal love experiences that you haven't shared on your blog. You've hinted at a lot of things on your blog that you've said you would get into later that fans have been looking forward to continuations of. And we just want to know the juicy details. We're fans of your blog. We know a bunch of listeners of this will be fans of your blog, even if they aren't a fan of our show. But if you could share some stories or any secrets from the blog.
So I've said this before on the blog, and everyone is entitled to their privacy. And of course, I change names on the blog
Of course.
for this reason, right? But there are some stories that I've shied away from sharing, not because they would defy somebody's privacy, but because it would almost give them too much exposure to the world, even behind a fake name, even behind, like some people don't deserve to have their stories shared out to the world. But there is one exception that I can think of immediately. And I mentioned I spent a lot of time out in the woods, out in national parks across the world. And there's one particular experience that stuck with me. And I was in a cave. It was chilly out. I was staying in the cave for warmth. And I found a small glass bottle. And this was very odd, considering I was miles and miles and miles away from anything resembling civilization. Like I was airdropped out here. There's nobody around anywhere close. So this bottle fascinated me, and I looked into this bottle. It wasn't quite a plant. It was some kind of growth, not something I'd seen in my travels before. So I started feeding it bits of my snacks. So I give it Cheez-It here and there, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and eventually there was, I wouldn't call it a human or even a person or even really an organism. It was definitely a personality. And we spent a good 3 nights together, and we learned more about each other than
what happened?
we have about anybody else.
What happened to this creature?
And
Are
I
they
still think about this.
decomposed right now? Are they still alive?
Well, I mentioned before my theory of the perfect human theory, and some things that defy this image of the perfect human subtract the total love. Like this is something I've covered before. This is something I mentioned on the blog. We and there was this internal struggle I felt for these 3 days where it's like, sure, we're sending the love into each other, but the existence of this creature detracts from the total love in the world.
Let me just stop you right there. I appreciate you talking about this, but people, we read the blog, our fans, your fans have read the blog, and you haven't said anything new. Like this is a text write-up. I know this story. We want to know what happened between you and the creature. That's what we keep begging about in the comments.
This is hard for me to open up about, right? Because like this is something I had to personally reckon with in those 3 days and in the time after.
I totally understand, man.
This is something that I stay up at night thinking about.
I think it would be good to finally get it out.
So there's a reason.
The more you try to be secret about it, the more and more people are going to be hounding you. I know Jimmy Fallon was all over you about it. It's just getting out of hand. I really think it's finally time to just.
That was a night.
There.
So
absolutely.
Okay, just give me a moment. Give me a moment to prepare. So this creature, and I haven't named it since, and I didn't name it at the time because something felt innately wrong about that, and it still does to this day, where giving it a name would almost be giving it a respect that it doesn't deserve. But this creature and we briefly, and I do mean briefly, this was not for the full 3 days, we did merge consciousnesses, right? And I haven't mentioned this before.
How does that work? That doesn't sound real.
And so I don't want to get into the semantics. And of course, there's a very technical explanation I could give,
but
which I'm not going to go into for various reasons.
That we're on the podcast. I mean,
I know
it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be the full 80-page white paper, but maybe just a little bit of details for the nerds out there, enough to sort of reconstruct the argument.
People have been asking for. You don't know how much people have been asking for this, man.
All right, so here I'll give you.
The second we posted, we were going to have Vlad on the Facebook. People have been going crazy in the DMs, sending death threats if we didn't make you say it. I mean, it's just been. I really fear for the safety of my wife and children if you don't put this out there.
I've been crying. I've been crying about it. These people have been sending me DMs on Instagrams if you don't get Vlad to talk about the creature, and he would never talk about it. I said, and then he says, "I will kill you, and I will kill your family."
And we can see him out. If you look out the window, just out the studio, in those bushes over there, he's been moving around back and forth all day.
And he wears a shirt with his Instagram profile picture on it, so we know it's him. And it's just a picture of a dog smiling.
All right, I'm going to give you 3 words. That's all I'm going to give you. And this is more than I've given anybody, so you guys should feel honored
given
to
us
this.
A lot more than 3 words,
right?
But let's hear it.
Funnel, spider, Vaseline.
I think
That's
I
all
sort
I'm
of got
giving.
a picture in my mind from that.
Yeah, I think that'll get the fans, ease them at rest, per se.
I really hope so, because it's been going on long enough.
You have
I've seen the front
a
of this
mini protest
for most of my career
online about you. That's fun.
Like, I knew coming on today it would come up, and like it's come up before, like you said with Fallon,
and
he wouldn't shut up about it. So I'm glad I've gotten it out, and maybe you'll get more details in the future. I can't say for sure.
Yeah,
it's going to take me some time to prepare myself emotionally.
That's great.
You're right. I am feeling a little bit better.
Because I will say straight up, like, now that we've gotten that out of the way, the other elephant in the room, this is your first public appearance on anything in 2 years after the allegations had happened. You went completely silent, and now you finally felt comfortable to come back on. You know, do you want to talk about that? Like, get more personal?
Yeah, there could still be some legal
obviously
stuff
not.
wrapped up in that. I'll Vlad's got to be careful. We can probably talk a little bit. Stop us if anything is super wrong. But a while back, it was very commonly known that Vlad was very close and personal with Lindsay Sterling. She plays violin, and
dubstep, and
she makes dubstep violins, and that's
She does
pretty
other
much it,
things.
though.
That's just what she's known for.
That's pretty much all she ever does. So then Vlad was getting close. It was getting honey heavy. There were lots of rumors going around. And then all of a sudden, when it looked like everything was coming together beautifully, Lindsay was actually found impaled on the top of the Empire State Building. And everyone was horrified. The nation was shocked. And Vlad was he was on Jimmy Fallon when he found out. They were at the end of the filming. And then Jimmy just said, "Vlad, I just got the news and told you what had happened." And the only thing that you could say, you cracked a little smile, and you said, "That's it." And everyone was mystified by this comment. You were hit with all kinds of allegations. It was just a nightmare, and then you had to retreat from the public appearance. But just now, the prosecutor general has come back and said it was not, that you had nothing to do with it. It was just a freak electrical windstorm as she was performing on stage. She went backstage and went out for a breath of fresh air, a little smoke during the worst windstorm New York City's ever had to see. And then a stray gust just did the deed. And I know it's got to be horrific for you to just have lived everyone thinking that you did this the entire time. So even if, yeah, what do you have to say?
Well, I have to be careful. And there's still legal proceedings going on. Like, it hasn't finished yet. It's still going on, right? And I have to be careful what I say. But I will say that I knew Lindsay very well. And of the ways she would have preferred to go out, I think this was probably top 5.
Really, on top of the
not that I
Empire
did it,
State,
'cause I
in front of
clearly
everyone
didn't.
to
Like,
see?
that's not the thing
on
I
the
did.
helicopter news live footage?
Well, not just like it didn't have to be the Empire State Building. It could have been any building. Like the Empire State Building, that's a good like tall one. So that's probably one you'd want it to be. But like when I heard it happened, there was a serenity that came around me. Like it's almost like it was destiny because she's talked about it before, just like hypothetically. And
What were some
other
other
ways
ways
she wanted to go out?
if you don't mind sharing?
And it didn't Blender.
Why?
Yeah.
Listen, I can't claim to know what's in her head, and I can't claim to know ever because she's dead now.
She told
Right? That's
you
something
Blender.
that's always
If
be
there's
in
if
her
there's
heart.
one thing you got to know as a relationship expert, it's that you can't understand the minds of women. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they're talking about something else, and I'm talking about something they don't even talking about. And it's like I'm watching the Powerpuff Girls and they're watching the Powerpuff Girls reboot, and we're looking at the same thing. That's how it feels sometimes.
That's what they tell me.
That's what people tell me a lot.
And this is why us love bloggers need to stick together, and we're so happy to have you back, Vlad, weighing in on things again,
Back
just
in the
like
public
old
sphere.
times.
So we've been pressing
I'm glad to
Vlad
be
really
here.
hard lately. So let's go back and talk a little bit. You know, we like to share Spence and Spence. That is me. That's my name. And Trent and I like to share lots of great stories
me.
about ourselves. Sometimes, you know, we have
Oh, yeah.
quite the illustrious past ourselves.
we have a few YouTube compilations that have been made about
Absolutely.
our different
So
stories.
We always try to drop at least one or two every episode. So I'll start with one. I'll talk the story about this was my my girlfriend in college. I dated her for a good 2 years from the first.
Oh, have you told this on the
I don't think I've
podcast?
told this on the podcast before.
I
I might
think-
have. I've hinted at.
I
I think, I've
think you're
hinted
right.
at it.
Yeah, I don't think you've told the whole
I've
thing on the
mentioned her
podcast.
name. Everyone sort of knows. You know, I've
Right,
alluded
right.
to the Jessica story several
Right.
times, but I don't think I've really quite gotten to the meat of
Okay.
it. And the meat is a bit of a pun. You'll see later in the story.
This is a good one for
So-
the Vlad episode. I'm excited.
My girlfriend Jessica, she had this really weird quirk where we were pretty normal most of the time. You know, we'd go out to bars, we'd get the happy trinity of 3 shots in one: gin, vodka, and coffee. That was the classic bat down at the bar. It was called Happy Jerry's. They had the Happy Trinity. Everything had happy in the name. And so she had this weird thing about her. Sorry, I got a little off topic. She had this crazy weird thing about her where she would just love as I was sleeping, she would get a little pocket knife and she would cut off pieces of my skin and eat them. And everyone thought it was a little weird. I thought it was like a little weird, but I was kind of fine with it. But my roommate just kept telling me, they're like, man, this just it's not cool. It's not that normal. And you know, I've had many my skin. I have a skin condition where my skin secretes these intense amount of pheromones, and so women are extremely attracted to not just my skin itself, but to the taste of it. It's kind of like a hormone overload.
and the slight alterations in
And
physical
so
appearance.
I've had, you know, I've dealt sort of with this before, but she was really the one who kind of took it to the next level and just started eating it, and the chunks started getting larger and larger. And sometimes I would wake up and I'd be like, why am I so lightheaded today? And I check and I said, hey, weren't these bed sheets white yesterday? Because they were just soaked in my blood that had drained overnight. And my roommates were like, this is not quite cool. You know, she always coming out into the center room. She doesn't wash her hands and just gets it all over the kitchen. And so I finally had to talk to her. I said, Jessica, you know, Raj and the boys are really not. So Raj, he's not. I want to be clear. This is short for Roger.
Raj.
He's not Indian. It's just we just called him Raj.
right.
And he was one of my
his
roommates.
name.
We had lots of roommates. You know, we had like 5 roommates. I think they've all been said in all the stories by now, but I don't need to go through them.
Plenty of times.
But they had a bit of an
Mike,
intervention,
Schroeder.
and they said, "Man, you know, this isn't cool. Jessica, she keeps on eating your skin. You have scars all over your body." And she's been patching it up with this little sewing kit that she got. And I started to look like a rag doll, you know, covering my face. Pretty soon I was going to be what we like to make a joke that I was going to be an anti-pirate, because real pirates have an eye patch on one eye, and then I was going to have patches everywhere except my eye. And so finally I said, you know what, you're right. And so I broke up with Jessica, and we thought that was the end of it, right? But then
Right.
2 weeks later, Jessica comes back with a roaming pack of hound dogs, and she lets them into our apartment. And at this point, she's starved them for weeks, and she just lets them loose. And it wasn't a good night for Raj, because he had just gotten a little scrape. He was out playing tennis, and the ball just zoomed right past his left elbow and cut open a little hole. And
Classic Raj
I'll just say
moment.
that he had, you know, it's been kind of a funny story up to this point, but it's a little personal, which is I don't want to talk about it. So he normally when you put on a Band-Aid, Raj would always he was super you know, he was a clean freak about everything. He wanted to make sure
Yeah.
absolutely no blood
Had to
got out. So
take
he
it
put on
off
the
in a certain
Band-Aid.
way.
He put on the Band-Aid, and then he would take some plastic wrap and he'd wrap it up 3 or 4 times, make a little cast. But
Like
he was-
Reynolds rap.
Exactly. But he was
That
real
was his
tired.
brand.
He was real tired after the match. So he just put on like 2 or 3 Band-Aids and thought that would be it. But those hounds, they knew it. They knew it right away. And so they headed straight for Raj's room. Their combined weight just busted down the door. And I don't want to get into too many of the details, but I'll say by the end of the night, Raj's arm was just kind of a mangled stump of bones and meat, and that was why I was saying the meat earlier. It was a little bit of a throw forward, you could say, to this moment. And he's adapted now. You know, Raj is now taken. He has a cybernetic arm that can do all kinds of things. He can throw. He's the world darts champion, despite all of his disabilities, which is just absolutely inspiring. But that's really the story of.
Can I tell the follow up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Raj is a pretty open guy, so.
Not really too much Raj, but 9 months later, after Jessica got locked up for the Hounds, for releasing the Hounds, she got released, and I was at classes, love classes, and I see this new girl come in, who would just sit at her desk, you know, be like super shy, and I'm like, wait, I think she's like familiar, and it turns out it was fucking Jessica. Jessica was in love class, and she would always take out this little thing. It looked like a Burger King toy, like one of those little trolls. And I had never gotten like a good look at it, because like whenever I'd look over, she would like always take it and put it away. And then like finally one day we switched seats. Teach got real mad, so we made us switch seats. I was behind her. I got a little candid iPhone pic. And this thing is a tiny little version of Spence. It turns out that she was harvesting she was harvesting Spence's face to get DNA samples to construct her own little tiny Spencer voodoo doll magic troll little wizard. Has him dressed in a little wizard outfit.
So I'm going to interrupt here, and I don't mean to psychoanalyze you, especially after that story. Like this is the fun portion of the podcast, I can tell. Like we're not supposed to get in deep here, but I just want to say, using my experience, I think boundaries are important in any relationship, and I think Spence here wasn't considering the boundaries. So I don't want to say it's anyone's fault. I don't think it's Spence's fault or Jessica's fault. Like relationships don't work like that. But I think if he had been clear about his boundaries, if he had said like, oh, no, like I don't like that. I don't want that. Like this is not what I want in this relationship. So
Yeah,
if you think about it, it really is
there.
kind of all his fault.
Well, sometimes you're right. Sometimes I would wake up and the deed was done, and then I would just kind of like let it slide. But there were other times where she would cut a little deep, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I would be tied down, and I would just beg her. I would say, "Please stop! You're killing me. You're murdering me. I'm in unbearable pain right now." And she wouldn't really listen, and she would just kind of. She had this crazy look in her eyes that they would glow red when she was doing this. I think it was color contacts though. She would just tie me to the bed, and she would say, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate." She'd just repeat it over and over, and she would cut my skin off.
Well,
but it was all generally
a two-way street, right? Like you have to be willing to make amends, and you have to be willing to see things her way.
Exactly.
Right? And
so
I'm not saying it's your fault,
she,
it's not your fault, but it's not your fault, right?
During the daytime, she was just the most loving girlfriend anyone could ask for. And it felt a little bad that just this one flaw really got out of hand. But ultimately, I'm looking for that 100% match instead of the 95 to 96% match that Jessica was, except for this small thing.
I think
you
it's
might be looking forever.
She would do this at love parties as well, which like you know how those get. So like the first time I saw her doing this to you, Spence, was like when we were at a love party, and I thought like like he's into it or something, but like you were drugged up, passed out beyond belief, and like she was just taking chunk after chunk out of your scalpel, right? So I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner about it.
No, I totally understand. I mean, it wasn't It wasn't that wild looking. I mean, some of the stuff I've been into in the past with some of my girlfriends, so it wasn't that much of a crazy
And sometimes
step.
you don't even see the signs until it's too late. Like sometimes looking back in the hindsight is like, oh yeah, like I should have seen that like back when she did that. But like,
right.
And that's something you learn as you mature and you get older. You start to see the signs more.
That's how I felt about K-pop when I first heard about it.
Right. I remember you telling me that. I remember you telling me the K-pop video you saw online. You said, "Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I wish I could marry the girls. I'm gonna fly to Korea." And then I'm like, you should. And then next thing you know, we booked a ticket. And then we're seeing BTS, Girls' Generation, and AK-47 Plus all in the same night.
What a wild
That
trip.
was wild.
It was wild.
Wild. You like K-pop, Vlad?
No.
Why not?
Because that's what all the love groups in the back end have been slowly gravitationally being pulled towards lately.
I'm a traditional lovist, right? Like I'm in the old stuff. I'm reading Dante's Inferno and be like, yep, that's love. Like I'm one of the classic ones. So maybe I'm just behind the times. Maybe I'm losing it.
I mean, you're not much of a new age lover, I know, but you've been off for a couple years, so things have changed in the sphere that are accepted now that weren't before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have anything that you want to outright deny towards what I just said, or do you agree that you're kind of in the past still and not ready to move on?
I think I'm working towards becoming the best version of me that I can be. Right? It's not going to happen in a day. Maybe it'll never happen, but
Yeah.
I can try.
Everything's really just becoming a lot more international in the love sphere and beyond. 20% of K-pop is now actually produced in Egypt. There's a big Korean cluster there. They all live in the pyramids, and they just make K-pop all day there.
Right. Some lovers in there too. Some people that we've had on the show.
Absolutely. Had on the show, and should I say, had in the sheets.
I mean, we do get all the guests. We need to check up on them. Get them tested, have them over. It's just fun little party thing that we do.
Trent, did you want to share any stories today? I mean, we've had Vlad share a story. I shared a story. Or do you think we should move on to the next segment? Whichever you think.
I can share a story. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. This is a
So-
double story episode. People flip out
Double
about
story.
this in the subreddit.
This is the strawberry story, which I shared on an earlier episode, but we have a lot of new fans.
I think
and
this was
there's
only
an
on the
update.
Patreon.
Yeah. This is back when we were only on Patreon, because that's where we started. We started up only Patreon, for a whole 2 years. And we wouldn't let anyone see any of our content. You had to pay for it. This is on one of the really early paid episodes, and it's been like off, buried in an archive somewhere, because that Patreon got taken down. But yeah, strawberry story starts like this. Back in middle school, me and Spence used to be best buddies. That's where we met each other, on the playground, drawing snow angels with the hearts, and that's how we knew when we were lovers and best buds at first sight. And we would always bring the same thing to lunch every single day: peanut butter and jelly sandwich, apple Granny Smith, and just a shitload of strawberries, fresh picked.
We had this cute little thing we did where I would bring half of the bread, he would bring half the bread, I'd bring the peanut butter, he'd bring the jelly, and then we would just put half of each sandwich on our hands, and then we would double high five, and that would complete the sandwiches together before we ate them.
Yes, that we had our little rituals that we did. And then with the apples, we would swap. Sometimes we would swap apples, and we would also do fake worm injections in the apples. We would get worms from the backyard, or like the outside school sphere, and we would just put them in the apples we'd take needles that we would find from the trash can and dig into the apple into like a cigarette sized hole, and then stuff the worm in there. And also put cigarettes in there and make it look like the apple was smoking.
Yeah, we had a lot of these sort of rituals. Generally, the entire time we would do this, we would be chanting in Arabic. We had this little chant which meant something along the lines of like, "Please bless this lovely meal."
Yeah,
They
please.
would
It was like, please, this lovely meal before me, bless beyond to the heaven sphere, is what it was fully, I think. Like
honestly,
translated in Arabic.
it was often
From
halfway through
Arabic.
lunch by the time the rituals ended and we were able to eat. Sorry, I keep on interrupting the story. Continue with the strawberry part.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. No, that's kind of important, but yeah. So the strawberry, we would bring a shitload of strawberries to lunch and have so many because we both have gardens in each of our backyards just for strawberries because our families are obsessed because we're lovers. That's what we eat. That's what lovers eat. But we didn't know this back in the day, like the iconography of strawberries in the scene. So we came up with our own little games where we would prank each other with moldy strawberries that were left over in our lunch boxes that we wouldn't eat, that would just pile up over time. So we would be in lunch, and the next day there would be one on my seat, and I would sit down. Oh, moldy strawberry all over my gym shorts. I have a stain on it for weeks. Can't get it out until the OxyClean man comes. Just terrible, terrible, gross stuff. And we kept ramping it up. I don't know if you have any, if you remember any of the ones that we did. I remember specifically in arts class, the red paint. I was working with a piece with red paint. It was a very gruesome, bloody massacre that I was drawing, and Spence knew I needed red paint, so I went over to get it. No paint in there, just filled to the brim with moldy strawberries, and I instantly vomited from the stench. That's a classic one.
The strawberry pranks, they got a little out of hand, but honestly, we couldn't help but just keep ramping each other up and up. Every once in a while,
Right.
I'll still throw in just a mushy, moldy, decaying strawberry, just plop it into Trent's coffee sometimes, give him a little laugh. Probably my personal favorite was the time where I snuck into the school early. I got there at like 6 a.m. before anything had ever started. I brought a big bag of just disgusting strawberries. I put in a bunch of incredibly hot Ghost Inferno hot sauce.
Spicy sauce.
Mega spicy. And I just mix them all in and just smash it all together into just one disgusting glob. And I got into school early. I got into the classroom. I broke a window. Don't worry, my dad paid for it later, but I broke the window to get in. Got a few cuts and scrapes, but it was worth it because I got out my master's paintbrush and I took this horrendous hot strawberry mixture and I just painted the entirety of Trent's desk. And it was just covered in sauce. And so when Trent gets in, he's like, well, this desk is just, they painted my desk red. I got the special desk. He was actually a little excited because he didn't quite realize what it was. And so he runs over, he sits down in it, and then all his clothes are just burning off. His skin is just melting. He's still got some marks from this one.
I was so excited to sit down, and then the person behind me bumped me, and my face just face planted right into the sauce.
And this is actually, Trent used to have a much larger nose back then. And you can see it's pretty normal size now, and it's in part because the outer couple layers just got burned off.
Simmered straight off from how strong the acidity was from everything.
Yeah, that was
kind of crazy.
Probably my personal magnum opus when it comes to the strawberry wars. But
that was good. But the ending is the real story, which is why I brought it up. Which was my grandma had passed and nobody had known why. They thought like, oh, she just died in her sleep, but she was like around 70, and her body was just like found in her room. And
I'll never forget that scene walking in.
Just absolutely terrifying. And they put her in a casket and everything, and had a funeral, and Spence timed it so when we got to the funeral and the casket opened up, she would wake back up from being knocked out from sleeping pills. Apparently, Spence fed her with sleeping pills. Everyone thought she was dead. We all showed up to the funeral, and Trent also stuffed her to the brim with this pasty, moldy strawberry mega spice sauce. So she woke up and vomited nonstop sauce all over the funeral members, and then actually died from the shock of that afterwards.
It was a pretty good one. It was a little. I tend not to mention it in part because Trent's grandmother actually visits me every night in my dreams. I can't get rid of her, and she just stares at me, and then I just feel the most primitive and raw terror. And this happens for 8 hours every night while I sleep in real time. They're all of my dreams. It's been every dream that I've had since this moment, and every night I'm just afraid to go to sleep, and I try to stay up, and it never works, and I just fall asleep, and it just 8 hours of terror of just pure terror.
And that's actually the roots of part of why we started the podcast, because I would stay up with you long nights, and we would, bond over what we know best, love, and
Absolutely.
talk about love for nonstop. And then, oh, hey, why don't we start a podcast, talking about love blogs? Just call it Love Blog, and I think the rest is really
Absolutely.
history. So it became a very special moment for us, and that's why we call today in our current incarnation Love Blog Special, which really means a lot to us as it's tied to that story.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
No, it's kind of terribly sad.
Yeah, I'm just in pain and horror every single night. But I've sort of gotten used to it. I've sort of just accepted, it's only temporary. I only got 60 or 70 more years on this earth, and I can endure it until then. So anyways, let's move on. So we're moving on to the next section, and this time it's a mystery section. So
ooh, the mystery.
So this time
play the mystery song. Play the mystery song. Ooh,
mystery. So these are, as you guys know, but we haven't done one in a while, so I'll re-explain it. So Craig writes down a bunch of mystery topics, and see, normally we of course know what the topics are going to be beforehand. But Craig has written down a bunch of mystery topics. It's unprepared. We have a little bit of scripts, but Craig has the mental capacity of a small child, so he's really bad at sort of explaining these things. We kind of got to improv a bit and piece it together. He writes with his left hand, even though he's right-handed, and we keep telling him not to, but we can't get him to stop. So
we lock him in a room with nothing but a pen and paper, and we feed him drugs that we find that we buy off homeless people in the street, and just let him go wild. And that's what the topics are.
It's really just absolute chaos. It's very unprofessional, but we love it. It's a little chance for you to sort of see the rawness of it. So
glam.
We're gonna pull some small number of topics, and we're just gonna discuss them, one by one, sort of bullet chest style.
Yeah.
I think here. I think
off the table.
I pulled the first one last time. So how about Trent? You pull the first topic this time.
Sure. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Forrest Gump, I want you to die. I want to kill you, Forrest Gump. That's all it says.
Honestly, I'd believe that Craig could have written this one without being drugged up. He is always rambling about Forrest Gump.
He never shuts up about it.
We kind of refuse to talk about it with him because we feel like if we talk about it, we'll just he'll just keep on going. But you know what? He got us. He made us talk about it on the podcast. So now we got to chat.
You know what? You know what, Spitz? I'm clicking through all of the ones on the generator. The past 5 ones I've got are variations of this. Here's one: die, Forrest Gump. I want you to die. This other one, Forrest Gump, I want to murder you. And then this one, I will kill myself if you are not dead in the next 5 years, Forrest Gump.
Vlad, have you seen Forrest Gump?
Long time ago.
Do you think you could summarize the story for us?
So, Tom Hanks, or is it Christian Bale? One of those two. Uh, he goes through history and he
I
runs
thought you
around.
said you'd seen it.
I
Yeah.
have.
So which one is it?
I think, if I remember right, it's like a Mary Kate and Ashley situation where they got one or the other to do different scenes when
Okay.
the other one was tired.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That was
So yeah,
I
he
think
goes
that's true.
through
like Air
he
Bud.
goes through history. He goes through I think he's a time traveler, and he goes around running around. That's his whole thing. He runs. I remember that.
He goes
And
running around.
Yeah, maybe that's how he time
I
traveled.
thought he had a
running around
time.
the-
I thought he had
don't
a time machine.
Yeah.
So why is he running?
I think they changed it from the novelization, where they were like, okay, that no one's gonna believe this. Like, we need authenticity, so they made him time travel by running instead of the time machine. I think it's been what I'm remembering is partially from like Wikipedia, partially from TV tropes, like a little bit here and there. Anyway, I don't think it's
Okay.
that out of the blue to want him to die. I think that's probably a reasonable reaction to this movie.
I'm just kind of shocked at how many of them he put in the recent batch that he gave us.
Yeah,
When was the last time we checked on him in there?
it's been a while, and I think he's watched it. He started rewatching it every single day since then. So he probably just puts one in every time he comes up on screen. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do.
I mean, we did give him the portable DVD player recently.
Yeah.
I don't know why
I'll-
we thought that was a good idea.
Absolutely, we're taking away permissions. For the
Should I go
next
do
one,
that right now?
yeah, you do that.
Should I go get him?
Don't put him on the
Let me-
podcast. Let's just talk about. It.
No, let me go get him. Let me stop him.
Okay.
Let me stop him. You talk. You do
Sure.
a sec.
Yeah,
Do a segment. Let me
I'll
stop.
pull because there's a couple in here that haven't been about Forrest Gump. I think from back before his obsession really just took off. So I'll start with one
You
of the
talk
topics.
one on one with Vlad. I need to stop. I need to stop him.
Okay.
I need to stop him.
I'll start on another topic. So let's see. Let me click through a bit to find one not about Forrest Gump real quick. Oh, okay. So here, this is what it says. I'm just going to read it verbatim. I didn't write this. But Craig has written, forks, spoons, outdated, knives only for the future. That's the end quote. So it seems that Craig is sort of stumbling upon a realization. I think all of us has had at some point, either consciously or unconsciously, at one point or another, that forks, spoons, all of these things are basically superseded in functionality by knives. Forks, you stab. Knives, you can stab. Spoons, you scoop. Knives, you can get sort of a curved knife and do a little scoop, maybe put two knives together, especially the butter knives with the thinner handles, and you can hold basically any sort of liquid or viscous cream that you would want. And I can sort of agree here. And they tried to remedy this by just getting rid of forks and spoons and putting in a spork. But you start to realize that even sporks are sort of outdated when it comes to the possibilities that you have with knives. And it's a controversial topic. There are a lot of traditionalists out there. They say, hey, I'm not going to eat ice cream with a knife because last time I tried that, I cut off my tongue. It's still missing part of its mass. And now when I try to stick my tongue out, I can barely get it past my lips. That was a comment that I read. But if you're careful, as long as you use the non-sharp side, I think it's really not an issue. Just teach the children from an early age. It's more of a societal thing than it is really an issue with the danger of knives themselves.
Well, it's funny you say that. Way back in the day, in my youth, I worked at a retirement home as a waiter, right?
Yeah.
And I was very economical in these days. I was very careful with my budget.
Oh my god.
So I would take.
Oh my god. I just got back from. He threw it at me. It hit me really hard in the head. he threw the DVD player at me.
You okay?
He just smashed it.
I
I said, Forrest, I said, what are you watching? He says, Forrest fucking Gump. And he throws it at me and smashes it against my head.
I guess that kind of solved the issue. So that's okay.
I think
Well,
so.
if that's taken care of, I was telling a
Holy
story.
We need to
shit.
discipline him
I
later.
was in the middle
but
of something.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
yeah, we need to let Vlad continue the
I had to get the cuffs out. Sorry.
so
So you're done with your
You
whole
can
thing?
continue.
You're
You
good?
can continue.
Are you sure? Because
Yeah.
I was in the middle of something and you very rudely interrupted me.
I'm
it's
sorry,
kinda
man.
fucked
I'm
up.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, long story
Fuck.
short, I was stealing silverware from this place left and right. These old people didn't know what was hitting them, right? I did every day spoons, knives, forks, the whole shebang, sporks, even whatever they had, spatula sometimes. Like, and I'm talking like soup spoons, salad knives, all of
wow,
it. It was all gone.
exotic.
So, we got to the point. Things were interesting after that, and there were some incidents where the old ladies were trying to scoop the soup with their hands, and I was like, I can't abide this. Right? There's my conscience started speaking like, hey, your collection is going great. Like my brain was happy with what I had amassed, but my heart was like, these old people, their hands don't work so great. They need tools, and you're depriving them of these tools they need. So, long story short, there was a construction yard near where I used to live, and I would find scraps of metal and I would collect them. And the guys at the construction yard, they would wave to me every day. They loved me. They would say hi all the time. They collected stuff for me. And these old people, you'd be surprised how well you can improvise silverware with bits of scrap metal. So the knife debate, and this all ties back to the knife debate. I think any piece of metal with enough skill, with enough precision, can act as any utensil. And the current rigid structure, like this is a fork, that's to sell more silverware that you don't need. You need one bit of metal, and that serves every function. But that's just my 2 cents.
So, what's your opinion on Swiss Army knives?
I think you take that whole thing, you get rid of the casing, you take the bits, one metal, one object, right? You don't need a corkscrew. You need a metal that spins, right?
Yeah.
Like a drill?
Like an Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could,
That's
I
nice.
could see that.
I think that's really nice. That's just a beautiful little image. Thank you for sharing that beautiful, eye-opening story with us, Vlad. We really
no problem.
appreciate it. And let's tone things down a bit. Let's get quiet. And let's please the ASMR section of our audience that listens to us for our soothing voices with doing requests that they've commented for us in previous episodes.
So you know, Vlad, about 80% of our audience actually doesn't listen to the most of the podcast. They just skip to the ASMR section. So please
That's right.
try and keep your voice a little low, a little smooth, a little soft for this section. Otherwise,
if you
we'll
could
listen.
Should I just say everything I've already said, but quietly?
If you could go closer to the mic.
Get a little closer to the mic. Keep it down a bit.
Yeah.
Just keep it down.
Yeah.
If you have a dry mouth, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The people like the little mouths clicks.
Yes. If you have any
The mouth.
cereal or hairbrushes nearby, you could chomp on that.
So, Vlad, I have sent you in the podcast network HTML website interface that Spence has graciously coded for us. There will be appearing live on your screen comments from viewers asking us to read certain phrases, stories, paragraphs, sentences, and hashtags in ASMR voices. So I will start Okay, one's appeared. I only love it when the best of us get to the end of love, but love will never see the best of us.
Gave me chills.
Wow.
We have some real poets in
Okay.
the Twitter audience.
Okay. Spence. You can do one
All right.
now.
So here we have a submission seemingly from the desk of Plato himself. And it says, "It is not the triumph of a century which defines the status of love in a civilization, but it is the very makeup of what it means to us which puts its place on our shelves." Now, that was from an anonymous Twitter account. Looks like they made it just to post this quote. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was John Locke coming back from the dead to send this into us right here.
Welcome back. Welcome back, John Locke. Okay, Vlad. Time for you to read one.
I've got a shorter one right here, and I think there's some soul in the brevity, and it just says, "Good lovin', good eatin', yum yum."
Tasty. Well, that's this. Thank you, ASMR people, for following us for our journey. We'll try to keep it pleasing to you in the future.
Thanks for all the ASMR people, or the podcast ends here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the ASMR people for listening to my love podcast.
And we're back.
And bam!
Welcome back, all the normal people.
all the
normies not
our
trying
faves.
to orgasm from their brains.
So let's get talking about fucking. It's their favorite segment. Fucking, we love it. We're bros.
It's the best part of love.
Bros, what do we do? What do we love doing the most? Fucking. That's what we love. So, I'll give my update. I was fucking last night, right? Saw this total babe across the counter at the DQ, the Dairy Queen, local, my favorite spot to get the plot. And just hit her up on my Snap code. Just was waving it to her across the room and sent her some pics from the bathroom. Next thing you know, she's over my apartment, 2 a.m. Adult Swim is on the CRT TV in the corner, and we're fucking all night.
That's awesome. I love that. I'll talk.
Classic Tuesday evening.
I didn't quite have I didn't get any slays last night, but I will say,
boo-hoo.
the night before I had some luck. So I was doing my usual. I have a lot of different strategies, but I was doing one of my favorites. There's a super Walmart down the street. It's one of the largest Walmarts in the eastern United States. And there's always tons of cars parked, tons of people waiting to go in the Walmart because the line is just out the door, and it's better to wait in your car with the AC. And so I was just knocking door to door, car to car, saying, "Hey, you interested in a little date, a little squeeze and swap?" That's what I call it. It's a euphemism. And eventually, I found her. I found the girl of my dreams. She was just waiting in the car. She was totally down. She said, "I'm never going to get in this Walmart anyways. There's now a height requirement, and I haven't even met it." She was trying to mess with these height shoes that had just come in from Amazon, but it was really just kind of a stretch, no pun intended. So we brought back to my place, popped in,
Brought it back to your
to
place.
my place, which, I mean, it feels weird to say my place. Obviously, me and Trent share a place. We live in the studio. I'm just sitting on my bed right now.
Do.
So I brought back here.
Hey, buddy.
Hey. So I brought her back. We popped in a DVD cassette. We played. It was actually the original version of Star Wars, not the ones that they played in the theaters, but it was the it was the casting call versions. They actually just took all of the casting calls for the characters, all the auditions, and they spliced them into the entire movie. And they released this one before the other Star Wars just to do test audiences. And I personally think because they got a little complacent in the real Star Wars. They already had the roles. They already knew what was up. They were good. They'd been paid their $1 million, and so they kind of they didn't quite put it all. They didn't quite put their all. But during the casting call, actually, Star Wars was cast using only homeless people found on the streets of Nashville, Tennessee. And so they were really fighting for their lives here. They said, we'll give you $1 million if you pass this casting call. Otherwise, you're going back out to the streets, and we're going to dump a bucket of ice cubes on you. And that was it was a lot of motivation. And so these people really gave it their all. They really went all out. It's such a better acted,
they're fighters,
better version of Star Wars. There's no effects, but it's kind of like reading a book. You fill in the effects yourself. And so we were watching that. And originally I was planning on smashing right away, of course. It's always the best strategy to just the second the door is closed, just get down to it. But we already had Star Wars Zero. That's what it's called. We already had Star Wars Zero going on, and we just got so into it that by the time it ended, we were both crying, just tears running down our face. I was covered in sweat. I smelled like milk. It was such a raw moment that we just instead of anything crazy, anything wild, we just had passionate intercourse right then and there. And we pretended that we were married. As you know, I am married. I'm in an open relationship. My wife lives lives down in Australia. I've never met her, but we talk on AIM Messenger all the time. I just sent her money, and one day she'll probably tell me where she lives. But we're not quite there yet. We're taking it slow. Anyways,
have not pinpointed.
Yeah, we've
really
tried a couple of IP tracing tactics. We called up our IP service provider, but they've really got a hush lip. So we tried to report her for the FBI investigation. We said she was trafficking children just so they could find out where she was. But unfortunately, they found out that was a lie. We got in a whole bunch of trouble. Not going to go into that. That's said and done. I've learned my lesson there. But me and this lovely lady I met 2 or 3 days ago, we called each other wife and husband and sir and ma'am, and we pretended we were in an 1800s English cabbage garden, servants of the Lord and Lady Queen Jessie and King Regmund. A bit of a historical drama we were playing out there. And it was one of the most passionate nights I've had in a long time, which is why I felt it was a good one to share.
Hell yeah, dude! That sounds like a lot of fun.
You should know you were there. He was just sitting in his bed 3 feet over.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I wasn't gonna say anything, man. I was across the room. I had my VR on, but you hear it. You could see through the goggles.
You have any? Oh yeah,
that's the thing. I was just gonna say, if you squint while you got VR on, it's not hard to see outside of it.
If you turn on the webcam, you can see it whenever you want. There's some the new Spider-Man game has crazy use of the webcam. The
new Spider game,
and we learned this the hard way because I was over at my mom's house, right, and then she needed to get dressed for a work event. And I was like, "Oh, it's fine. You don't have to leave the room. I'll just be playing Spider-Man in VR." And suddenly, as luck comes to have it, I started playing the Jonah Jameson take a picture section right when she started changing. And so the picture VR came on, and it was just a full zoom in of my naked mother. And we laugh about it now, but at the time I was just horrified. And what's more, I wanted to get out of the screen as soon as possible, so I just spammed that take a picture button, and I spammed it about 100 times before it ended. And so now, whenever I go back to play Spider-Man, if I accidentally catch a glimpse of the newspaper, that's going to be the front page picture of the newspaper every single time. So I try to always avoid the newsstands when I'm playing Spider-Man Origins.
It scans it. It scans it in as 3D model for NPC characters, and there's like a 1 in 10 chance it'll be the user created one, and you accidentally have it as your naked mom. So sometimes you'll be walking around and your spidey sense will get a little tingled,
Yeah,
man.
I don't
That's
play
what
that
I'm
game too
saying.
much anymore. Thinking of starting a new save, but I did get the golden web.
Yeah.
So that's kind of tough. It's kind of tough
That's
to want
right.
to do.
That's on our live stream backup if you want to go back. It's on the Patreon. Live stream backup when we were doing game love sessions live. If you want to see
Vlad,
some
do
mom
you
footage.
have any recent sort of hookup stories you want to share?
So I do. I have a story that actually doubles as advice.
Wow, I
for
wouldn't
our
expect
viewers.
any less of you.
Ooh.
So, everyone's out there. It's the modern age, right? It's Gen X. It's Gen Y. We're in the times. So everyone's
Yes.
using dating apps, right? You got your OK Cupid. You got your Face Love. You got whatever you got. You're using those apps. My advice: those are useless. Don't use them. Throw them in the trash. You don't need them. The only app you need there's a little site called Quora. You might have heard of it. It's the modern day Yahoo Answers, right? You go in and you ask
Yeah.
questions. But see, this is a hidden feature you wouldn't expect. This is something you gotta dig deep to find.
Yeah.
Quora acts as a perfect matchmaker. It's like you're playing a game of Guess Who. You're like, hey, all the readers out there, what's it like to have blue eyes and blonde hair and an Audi belly button and big toes? And the partner of your dream is right there answering like, oh, that's actually this is something I've talked about a lot, right? And she gives you her life story and then you have a connection. You've hit it off. Like, that's the icebreaker. So you have to build this relationship, you have to keep asking these questions, right? You have to get her going. You have to be like, okay, but what is it like to be a lefty? And then she tells you about, and slowly, she doesn't realize this is happening.
Wow.
You get to know her. She gets to know you through the way you phrase your
Wow.
questions. And this beautiful relationship is forming, and neither of you even know it. All right?
It's kind of like
Amazing.
a girl
So,
ask Jeeves.
yeah, ask Julie, more like.
That's true. That's true.
That's a classic Vladism.
So, all the listeners out there, start phrasing your questions. Start getting the police sketch artists. Draw your perfect lady. Throw her on your Guess Who board.
So, who'd you smash off of Quora?
Now, I gotta share some stories from my blog. I can't spill it all
You
here.
didn't share the type of story we asked for.
Yeah.
I mean, I implied
What?
one. It was in there. You just have to
Yeah.
listen back.
But you're known for your absolute brutal imagery in the language that you use to describe your hookup stories on the blog. That's like one of the things that separated you from the other gonzo love bloggers.
Yeah, I mean, this is me in my prime, right? Like, I'm back after a long hiatus. I've been doing some reflecting. I've been working on a new format. Like, I've been experimenting with my style. So
This is like if I ordered a blender on Amazon and they sent me a bowl and a knife and some instructions and said you can mix it yourself.
I mean, sometimes that's how you get the more authentic answer. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes you have to settle. So here, I'll give you 3 more words. All right. This is very popular with my readers.
Let's play the 3 words.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
Bendy straw. That's 2 words, I guess. Mallet.
That's
Globe.
3 words.
Sorry,
You
that
put
was
an
4
underscore.
words.
That's 4
The
words.
bendy straw is 1 word. I think in German it's 1
Oh
word.
yeah. That's good.
Bendenstruck.
Yeah. That counts.
And my real readers out there, my longtime fans, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. It's kind of an in joke.
Well, I am one of those, and I have no clue what you're saying.
Well, and I'm starting to question if you really are one then. But that's not my
Wait,
place
are
to
you
say.
Vlad from Mega Love Quest Vlad blog?
Mega Love Quest?
That's you, right?
Yeah.
That
Did we
sound
get the
very
wrong?
convincing.
Did we get the wrong?
Hold on. What?
Did we get the wrong guy, Spence?
You're Mega.
What's your blog name?
What you said before, that's what it is.
Mega Love Blog Vlad.
That's me.
What is? Okay.
Wait,
Mega Love Blog Vlad. What is the shirt? You always wear the same shirt in all of your blog posts. It's got a certain cartoon character on it. Which character is it?
That's definitely Bart Simpson.
I cannot believe we got the wrong Vlad.
We got the Bart Simpson Vlad. No.
Are you an
I think
impersonator?
this must be Vladimir Nakamura.
This is.
It's the Bart
this is
Simpson
the Bart
Vlad.
Simpson Vlad. This is the Bart Simpson.
Listen,
guy
guys,
who wears
I've been
the Bart
looking for
Simpson.
work. I needed something to get me back in there.
The font.
All right,
The font that we
just
have
cut
for our
this part out.
HTML on our
No.
email, we have a custom font injected. It makes the A's and the O's basically look the same. So
Yeah, so we I'm sorry, we got the wrong guy. We were meant to get the other Vlad. I'm
Listen,
sorry.
you don't want him. All right, I've dealt with him many times before.
yeah, I mean,
well, this is
you
I'm
were a
sorry,
great
this
guest.
is awkward.
I gotta say. In fact, we
Yeah,
just
you
gotta
were
say,
pretty-
like, Nakamura
You're good.
takes in the crowd. I think we'll probably still put him in the title.
Well, you don't.
Yeah, we'll just still put him in.
But we can put
Okay.
we can put a little link.
But
We can
Yeah,
still
we'll
just
put
it in.
Can you
on
put
your
me in there
screen
too?
right now. We'll put the link to your stuff.
We'll put.
Yeah.
We'll put you in.
get me up there, all right?
We'll put the link to your stuff, but in the thumbnail, we've been promising the other Vlad
Yeah,
for like months.
we're
so
gonna.
let's
so
just put that.
I gotta
in the-
say, you know, a
Let's
lot
just do that
of
in the
the viewers will
thumbnail.
be mad. There needs
In
to
the
be some
title.
sort of type of retribution
in
for
the
this.
description.
I think what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to send out your address to the mailing list, and we're gonna tell them all to order pizzas to your house. And I'm sorry, but it's just kind of what needs to be done to right the balance here.
Yeah.
It's
Craig, put it up on the screen.
it's gonna.
Actually,
Get-
just put it up on the
At
screen.
least get the cheap pizzas, at least,
We-
please.
Hey, we'll tell them that this is your request, but we're not the
Hey.
harbingers of justice here. This is really just up to the fans on the mailing list.
I guess you reap what you sow.
There's a censored version on the video upload of this video of your address. Here's a picture of your front door. Go wild.
Well, despite it all, despite the controversy and despite my deception, which I am very apologetic for, I did still have a good time on the podcast. And maybe you'd consider having me back someday instead of the other Vlad.
Well,
Maybe?
we'll see about that.
I mean, I don't.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, anything can happen, right? Love is beautiful, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, awesome.
thanks so much, Vlad, whoever you are.
Yeah, thank you, Vlad. Even if you are not wearing Jake from Adventure Time on your shirt,
Who's
and you
Jake?
are wearing Bart Simpson
Who's
on your
Jake?
shirt,
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
Can we just
Yeah,
get this guy
I think
off?
we're just
Spence,
gonna
can
end
we
it.
just-
We're not gonna do the outro.
Is there a way we can just like kick
It's
him?
just over. Bye.